Time now for a little off the mic with Mike and Gasia. Just a couple people navigating the world of broadcast news in the San Francisco Bay Area. Gasia anchoring the mornings, Mike anchoring the nights. At one time, we actually anchored together, but now we're still just raising families and swapping stories. And here we are once again. Gasia, good morning to you. I pull into my driveway at 12:30 this morning after working the late shift, and I get right to work in the yard. The war is on with me and the rodent. It is back, and I had set the trap. The trap was knocked over. I was fired up because I thought I got the little guy, and I didn't. And it drives me. Well, I'm not going to say it. I'm not going to say it anymore. But so yeah, that's how my morning was.
Yeah.
And going on. How's your morning?
My morning's good. We have my husband is waging a battle against, voles? Like they're sort of, I don't know, is it voles that are tearing up your
I
lawn?
know voles. Yes, I've eliminated. I'll say eliminated. I've taken care of about 6 voles over the last 3 years, and I believe, yeah, we've got another one knocking on our door. So I'm that neighbor pacing back and forth right now, but I'll give you an update next conversation.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm sending well wishes to the vole because I don't want to see it harmed, but I totally get the frustration of you got this decent lawn and you want to keep it that way. I am sort of fresh back from my spring break. I took a week off for my son's spring break. They're freshman, sophomore in high school, and they've got the same week, obviously. And so we kind of stuck around. I mean, we totally stuck around. We didn't really go anywhere big. What is totally new to me this year is that my younger son, he's on the freshman baseball team. And at the beginning of the season, the coaches kind of had all the parents gather and they gave us all a talk about, dedication. And I was like, yeah, I totally get you. And then they're like, when it comes to spring break, we have practices every day and we have tournaments. There were a couple double headers in there. And they said, unless you have, like your great grandmother's 100th birthday in Florida, you really shouldn't be missing any practices or games. And I was like, okay, yes, I hear you. And then as soon as the meeting ended, I went to my husband. I'm like, but we can still go somewhere, right? And he was like, I don't think so. And I was like, what do you mean? I was not an athlete in high school. And my husband said, that's just how high school sports is. The coaches expect the players to be there. And then we checked with our young son, and he was like, absolutely, I'm not going anywhere. I want to play in every single game and be there for every single practice. So we stuck close to home.
Good for him. Unpack the bags. We're not going anywhere. No,
Yeah.
I'm with that. I mean, you got to grab your spikes, get your bat, and go play ball. You sign up for a commitment. You know
Yeah.
what you're getting into. And we're the same way. I mean, my daughter in softball and my son with golf right now. And I've got two students right now at two different schools, one in high school and one in grade school. So they actually have different spring breaks, which makes the decision a lot easier for us because I'm like, I'm not going away for 2 weeks.
Right.
So we're locking down for sure. So we're here. And I've never been a big spring break
Yeah.
guy. Even in college, like I did go once to Mazatlan. My goodness, that was a lot. That was a lot of fun, but that was a lot. And then what else? That was it. And then, ever since then, it's like even with the kids and we've always been kind of close to home spring breakers. Not that I don't love spring. I love spring. We're in the
Yeah.
middle of spring. It's a symbol of new life. It's
Yeah.
beginning. I talked about the yard, being in the yard. I've been planting new flowers.
Yeah.
Speaking of new life, my niece just had a baby on
Oh,
Sunday night. Her and her
oh,
husband, Westbrook Thomas. So congratulations! Shout out to Allison. In fact, her sister and brother have also had babies. Their first each in the last, what is it, 10 months?
wow.
This is my oldest sister's children, so she is now a grandmother 3 times over, all within a year. So shout
Amazing.
out to them. Yeah. So yeah, spring. I love spring, but not a big spring breaker for our family right now. We're kind of locked in. But God, Mazatlan.
Tell me,
Mazatlan in college, like we would go to bed at 6 and the people at the hotel would be banging pots and pans at like 8 to get us up, get us down to the pool, and then start spending money. Like we did that. It was a 7-day trip. We did that for six. I don't even think I left the room on day 7. It was just
wow.
exhausting. That was fun. I think I still have some photos.
Yeah, I would love to see them. Wait, is this when you were in college at your junior college or when you were in Colorado?
This was Boulder. Go Buffs. This was
Wow.
Boulder days. Yeah, Boulder days. Prime time. So you see Deion Sanders. You know Deion Sanders. You know who he
I have
is?
heard of him.
Deion Sanders, prime time, signed a new contract with the University of Colorado. So he's going to be sticking around. There was a lot of talk about him going to the NFL, maybe in coaching. But Anyway, sidetracked there. But no, that to answer your question, yes, that was in Boulder days, College of Marin days. Again, that's one of those things like I don't we didn't do much.
Yeah.
What about you when you were in community college?
Kind of didn't do, I mean, I was not, this is not going to surprise anyone. I was not much of a party girl. Like you, I went to junior college. And so since I grew up in Livermore, I went to Las Positas. And so I didn't, there was, I mean, I don't even know if we had spring break. I guess we did, but I was also working like part-time at the mall, Stonebridge Mall, my beloved mall. And
What
I
shop? What shop?
babysitting. Yeah, I love, I joke that Stonebridge Mall raised me.
What
Um,
shop? Where did you work?
so I worked at the Emporium, which is no longer around. It was like a department
Emporium
store.
Capwell.
Emporium Cathwell. And at first I was hired as like holiday help, and I worked in like the kind of women's career clothes. And I was there for about 6 months. And then they hired me right after the holidays. And so I'm working part-time. And it was funny because the cosmetics department was like right across the way. And the manager of the cosmetics department came to me one day and she said, I really like the way you interact with customers. You're really personal. You do a great job. I would love to have you work in the cosmetics department. And at the time, this is going to blow your mind, I didn't wear any makeup. I like barely had chapstick. And
You
so I said,
worked
oh,
in the
like,
cosmetics
okay.
department and didn't wear makeup?
Well,
Don't people like I'm not a pro about that. Like I worked at Nordstrom and I used to hang out with some of the people who worked at the Mac counter, but like don't you have to kind of know in order to sell the product?
So I will say I ended up working for Estee Lauder, and their training program was excellent. It was like they would have these big training sessions. They would send us to San Francisco for the day in some like fancy hotel, and it would be like breakfast, lunch, dinner provided, all the new products that are on the table. They would have different educators come in and talk about like this is for skincare and this is the best blush color. I mean, I was trained from nothing. And so I ended up working there because what changed my mind, because I was like, I don't really know makeup, no thank you. So I actually said no. And then someone else in the clothing department heard that they had offered me a job in cosmetics, and she goes, "You're crazy. Don't you know they work on commission?" And so as soon as she threw that commission word out there, I was like, "Oh, maybe I could learn." And so I ended up learning, and I worked for Estee Lauder pretty much the whole time I was in community college, and it was
I love it.
amazing.
I love it. I love it. We got a 6% commission. Old men's sportswear. What was your commission? Do you
That was
remember?
a lot. We only got, I think it was like, I want to say it was like 2% if what you sold was Estee Lauder, or 1% on it if it was any of the other cosmetic, like we had, Lancome and Shiseido and all these different cosmetic brands. So if it was from our own line, I think we'd get 2%. And then if it was from another line, we'd get 1%. And you know what, I'll tell you, this is really interesting. So, I was working there like I'm in junior college. I'm what? 18, 19, and
Mhm.
the other women who were working at the Estee Lauder counter were working there to support their families.
Yeah.
And so I wasn't at all cutthroat. I didn't even get how the world worked. And so, if I see a customer approaching, I'm like, oh, I'll let her take her time and coming up to the counter, and I'll let her look around, and then and these women were like, bam, afternoon, what can I help you with? And they would just zoom in on every sale. And I was like, wow. And I'll tell you,
What do you
because
call those people? What do you call those people?
I didn't really have a name for them. What do you call those people?
Sharks.
Oh, yeah.
That's what we called them. Watch out
Yeah.
for the shark, right?
Yeah.
Right. Anyways, not to cut you off. Keep going.
I agree, but for me, because I knew that cosmetics counter, I was hoping it would be a starting point for me. And because I knew that they were, I mean, at that point, at least 20 years older than me, they were, like I said, supporting their families. I kind of let them do that. At the time, I was making $8.50 an hour, which to me felt like a pretty decent, part-time, whatever. And so I was like, okay, like they obviously want this more, probably need it more than I do. I'm going to let them do that. And besides, I just felt really gross. Like, good afternoon, how can I help you? So I wasn't aggressive in that arena, but I also knew that I probably wouldn't be doing it in 20 years.
Well, I wasn't aggressive in that arena, but I enjoyed the arena. I enjoyed starting the conversation, during those 3 years of my time there. But I think that was a building base for what
Yeah.
we do now. Like, as an 18 and 19-year-old, it takes a lot to like go up to strangers and not be a shark, but, because our job as reporters is to get people to open up to us and
Yeah.
trust us. And it's the same thing in retail. So a lot of the base for what we did, I owe to those years in retail, and in community college. And it is springtime and people are getting a lot of the college admission letters these days. Did you have pressure to go to college out of the gate out of high school? Or did you
Um,
know that you were going to go this route of community college
Yeah.
initially, your senior year?
It's funny, I joke that I'm the latest of all the late bloomers. So, first, I will say that my parents both have advanced degrees, and we knew from the moment we took our first breath that we would be going to college. It was not even a discussion, we knew. But my parents were never really specific on, you must go to this college or this kind of college. I was very lucky. I am very lucky in that I have an older sister. I'm the second of four. My older sister is only a year and a half older than I am. So, we were a year apart in school. So my senior year of high school, which is kind of like when all the decisions are being made and the applications are la la la, she had just gone to UCLA. And, she is my parents' first experience with like the undergraduate world of public colleges. And I will,
No pressure there. She's a Bruin, and you're
right. Yeah,
following.
I know she's super smart. I don't even bother competing with her. So
Go
she goes
Buffs.
to UCLA. I'm doing my senior year of high school. I'll be honest, my GPA wasn't super great. I was maybe mid to low threes. But like
That's
back
better
then,
than me.
oh really?
That's better than me.
What was yours?
I was in the twos. I was like a 2.8 average student, probably my senior year.
Interesting. Yeah,
Yeah. Like
I
I feel like I was smart, but like street smart, but I like just did not test well. I went to a tough high school too.
yeah,
That taught me a lot about life,
yeah,
and community and support, not necessarily book. I mean, they did
right,
teach me book. It just wasn't clicking initially.
right.
Um, so yeah, so my grade, I wasn't a 4.0 student,
Yeah.
but I still had aspirations of college, of course.
Yeah, no, like I said, I knew I was gonna go,
Right.
uh, but I think the combination of like my grades were all right, but back then, way back then, you could get into a UC or a state school with like a 3.3 or a 3.5. These days, I think like that's impossible. But anyway, so my grades were okay. I didn't know what I wanted to do, and I'll never forget this. Well, actually, let me finish the UCLA story. My sister goes to UCLA. I'm in senior year, and I remember like it was yesterday the phone call. She would call home from UCLA and be like, "Oh, they're raising tuition," or "Oh, I need more money for my textbooks," or "Oh, just like these issues that pop up around college, as you know, largely focused on money." And I just remember it was stressful for my parents, and I remember thinking like, I don't want to add to that stress. I don't want to double, like, because then if I go away, then all of a sudden I'm calling home saying the math book costs more and the whatever went up. So that was for sure a big factor. But more than that, it was a combination of I didn't really know what I wanted to do. So I was like, gosh, kind of what does it matter where I go if I don't even have a real major yet? The financial stress of seeing my sister go away to UCLA. And also, this is key, I was very young. I had just turned 17 right before I graduated because I skipped a grade 100 million years ago. And so I was kind of like, those three factors combined. So when I decided to go to my junior college, my parents were fine with that. But I will tell you, and I don't know if you felt the same, I kind of felt like a loser because all my other friends were like, I'm going to UC Santa Barbara. I'm going to USC. Oh, I'm
A
going to
little
be a
bit.
lawyer. And I was like,
Yep.
not only am I not going to a fancy school, I don't even know what I'm going to be. And I remember looking at them going, oh, I guess they're all going to be like lawyers and veterinarians. And here I am going to be nothing.
A
So I
little
remember
bit.
that like
Yep.
it was yesterday.
Yeah. I had a little loser feeling, walking around the campus those first few weeks, going, oh, okay. And
Yeah.
it's a wide range of students. You have people who are in their 40s in class with you.
Yeah.
Um, but I also had the guidance. I'm the youngest of four, not number two like you, where my older sisters were USC, Arizona. But my brother, he started a 4-year, came back and did community college, and then went to SC. And with his guidance, again, my mom's raising all of us by herself because my dad died when I was 3. And he said, look, man, like you have a goal, but if you don't get the goal of a 4-year, like I did this route, that this is a possibility, and it was a great possibility. So he kind of turned the volume up to me a little bit because the only goal I had in high school really was, and this was financial based too, was the academy, was the Naval Academy.
Oh,
So you're listening, going, how in the world do you can get into an academy with those grades? So they do have prep schools, or at least the Naval Academy had a prep school, two of them, and so those prep schools, like if you have low math and English scores, but we want you, we believe in you, and we think you can do this, then apply to the academy and maybe you'll get into a prep school. So I did go that. I was all in on that. And, I still got the congressional appointment from, Tom Lantos at the time.
yeah.
Um, and long story short, it didn't work. So I decided not to go to this prep school. and that's just left me at College of Marin. But I loved it, I loved it. I did 3 years there, so
Yeah.
I didn't just do two. I mean, I did three because I had to work full time. So I was working 5 days a week and going to school on Tuesday, Thursday classes. So I could only take Tuesday, Thursday classes. And I would take classes from morning to night and
Oh,
work the other 5 days. But during those years, it was just like once you got rolling in the
yeah.
community college base, it was fine. It was school to me. It was college
Yeah.
to me. I was still going out. I was still going to bars. I was still using a fake ID. I was still having fun. I was still, meeting plenty of people and new friends because I went to high school in San Francisco and here I am in College of Marin. Most
Right.
of these individuals went to high school in Marin. So it was like, I don't know. It was great, and the teachers were fantastic, including Bob Minton. Shout out to Bob Minton. I don't even know where Bob is these days, but he was my public speaking teacher. And I
Oh,
took probably like 6 public speaking classes.
yeah.
And Bob was the teacher for all of them.
Oh,
And
wow.
I mean, it was a wide range of one of them. All we did for a semester was sit down in a circle and read children's books, right? So, but you can't just read it. You needed to get in character, come up with voices,
Oh, wow.
and you would sit in the middle of this circle, sometimes outside on the nice green grass
Yeah.
there, beautiful campus, home of
Yeah.
the Mariners. And you would have to come out, man. Now you needed to show you because he would fail you. Like if you did not perform, if you didn't get into this character of reading a children book, but it was so fascinating to see people who were like this,
Yeah.
crunched up in a little circle, and then by the end of the semester they were just flourishing and getting up in front, and then the next semester we would get up and start doing presentations about whatever and this. So I don't know, I love community college, and I think it prepared me. I went into a 4 year as a 21-year-old. I was a little bit more mature and went rolling from there.
I totally agree with everything you said. I think community college, like you were at home, you're in Marin, like you were in that vibe of I can do this, I can try this. You had the confidence of like, maybe I'll do this public speaking. Maybe I'll read Green Eggs and Ham to these 12 people I don't really know that well, right? I think if we had gone straight away to like a UCLA or whatever, I would have, number one, I would have been like, what is this LA business, right? Like, I don't know that I would have had that comfort and that ease. And to me, I thought, community college, it was super inexpensive. It still is. And so I had the ability to I took all the English classes I could. I was very heavy into writing. And so I took like English literature, magazine writing, journalism. And I was able to be like, I don't really like fiction writing. I took it for a semester. I didn't really like it. So now I know I won't be a fiction author. I was kind of able to go down the line. I knew I liked reading and writing best. English was always my best subject. But community college gave me the freedom to explore. And so I got to sort of hone in on what I wanted to do. So then by the time I was ready to transfer, and I will say I made sure every single one of the classes I took was fulfilling some requirement at the UC or state level. I'm like, I'm not here to waste time. And so when I transferred, I finally had focused on journalism. And so I applied to one college, which is ridiculous these days, but I applied to San Diego State because my friend Jennifer went there and I had visited her and I liked it. And I also heard that San Diego State had a good journalism program. So I'm like, all right, let's go there. Applied to one school, got in. And so by the time I got to San Diego State, like you said, we were a little bit older than like the incoming freshmen. I got there, I'm like, all right, I'm here to make this work. I've got 2 years, right? And my roommate, Jackie, she was a freshman in the dorms, and she's like, I'm here to party. And I was like, Jackie, you can't party. You don't have that much time. So she kind of helped me open up and party a little bit. And I helped her realize that 4 years for her is going to go like that. And you can't just waste your time and think you're going to get out of here with a degree and some knowledge. Like you need to work. So we were a good balance for each other.
Where is Jackie now?
So Jackie is still in Southern California. That's where she grew up. She, I believe, is working in public relations. She was also a journalism major, from what I remember, but she kind of didn't like, doing all the stuff that we did, especially back in the beginning of like, living in tiny towns and shooting all your own stuff and being away from your family and making $0. And she was like, no, that's not for me. And it's funny because, kind of mostly through my son's baseball team, I've met a couple of other moms when they find out what I do or they recognize me from KTVU. They go, oh, I was a journalism major, but I didn't want to actually go into it. And they say, because I couldn't stand to leave my family. And I thought to myself, and they, like me and you, come from really big, very loving, very tight families. And I think, wow, my parents gave me a real gift by applying no pressure for me to come right back home after school. They
Yeah.
were like, do what you need to do. I mean, they didn't even know I mean, I didn't even hardly know what a broadcast journalism
Right.
career, what the trajectory would look like. But my parents never said, don't you want to come back home? Or wouldn't it be better if you started back in the Bay Area? And I just think, wow, like I did it. You did it. And to think if your mom had said to you, Mike, please don't leave me. Please come back home to the Bay Area. Just think what a pull that would have been for you. And I know you're especially tied to your mother and your siblings, but you had freedom. They gave us such a gift, Mike.
Go live life, I
Yeah.
mean, one of my favorite books, On the Road, Jack Kerouac, I mean, pack your bag and go see the world, man. And
Yeah.
especially in those years of your life,
Yes.
18 to 25, very important years
Yeah.
in life. And I'm excited to see my own children and to see them pack up and hit the road eventually, whether it's in college or after college or whatever, to see them grow. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm all in. If there's a summary about this conversation and people are listening or watching, I don't know what they're doing, and you're debating college or community college, I give a thumbs up to go to your local community college, and I support the ones here.
Totally. I always say community college worked for me. I know like the feelings in the beginning were hard. And it's funny because we actually just met with the college and career counselor at our son's high school, right? And she said, I kind of told her my story. And we have a really great community college next to us where we live. And so I'm like, maybe they could go there and then transfer because these days it takes like, a 5.0 to get into any state or UC school. And she said community college works for people who are self-directed, and I'd never really realized that. But like you, I had a goal. I knew that this was not the end for me. And I used my community college to get me to where I wanted to go next. She says, unfortunately, people who aren't focused, they can spend 5 years at a community college and come away with kind of nothing, like not
Yeah.
even an AA, right? So I thought, oh, that's a really good point.
You got to be dialed in. And I will say, I did apply out of college from to UCLA, and I didn't get in.
Oh,
So Boulder was a backup. And as a lot of my friends from Boulder say, Mike, you were born to be a Buffalo, not a Bruin.
so you didn't get into Boulder as a freshman, but you transferred in as a junior?
No, I didn't even apply. Wasn't
Oh,
even on the
okay.
radar. My
Okay.
brother, who went to SC, packed up and went with all his friends to Boulder for a summer and did summer school out there. Well, I don't know if they actually went to class. And he came home that summer and says, whatever you do, don't go to USC. Go to this school. And that's how Boulder got on the map for me. But even saying that, I still thought UCLA, I heard about this journalism program down there or mass communication. And so that's where I was headed. And it was a UC school, so it was cheaper. But that didn't work out. And that's how I landed in Boulder, in the
So let
School
me
of Journalism out there.
So let me ask you, because you and I, we have my second, my boys are what, 14? We're like on the verge of turning 15, my little one. And then my older one is like 16 and a half. Do you think today's kids, young adults, out of high school need a college degree? Like, are you still pushing your kids in that direction?
I think they need, it depends what you do,
I know.
I
Isn't that
guess.
wild?
Um, I think it's always beneficial to have a college degree no matter what you do in life. I
Yeah.
think it's uh I think it's part of climbing a mountain and you get to a certain ridge and you camp for the night, you're like, God, I made that. I think if anything, it's just an accomplishment in life.
Yeah.
So whether you use the degree and whatever you do in life, maybe not, right? Maybe 50% of the children, young men and women out there will actually use the degree. But I think just doing it and getting it, and
Yeah.
although there is a cost to it, I think it's an important mental thing to actually get the diploma and say, I went to college. You can tell your family that, you can tell your children that. And I think just mentally it's an important thing. Um, and it's a good experience, I think, in life for social skills and just getting out of the house, and whether you go to a community college or away, like, I don't know. Personally, I think it's important to go. Yeah. And I think it is important to walk down that aisle and get that diploma and graduate. And I tell my children that, like, I don't expect it. I don't use that word, but I encourage them to go to higher education and that
Yeah.
it will benefit you no matter what you do in life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We use like your opportunities? Because, I'll tell you, like, if we drive by an In-N-Out and they see on the window, like, now hiring starting at, $20 an hour, my kids are like, oh, like, that's really good money. I can make 20 bucks an hour. And I go, look, for now, it would be for you, right? And like, we have been so fortunate in, we talked last time about when I started as a reporter in Yuma, I was making $15,000 a year. And, just to think how now I can go to the grocery store and buy 4 gallons of milk. And, I just like, it blows my mind, right? And so I tell my sons, you can work at In-N-Out and make 20 bucks an hour, but the opportunities to go higher than that, if you want to be a store manager, a district manager, that's what requires higher education. So I say, a high school degree, you have this many opportunities open to you. A college degree, you have this many opportunities open to you. And I try to talk to them in terms like, I'll be honest right now, my older one's all about the bikes. He wants, these fancy bikes that like blow my mind with their price tag. My little guy who's into baseball wants, like a $400 catcher's mitt. And I'm like, where do you kids think, where does this money grow on? And so I tell them, if you want really nice stuff in your life, and, I'll point to our house. I'm like, you guys, we're so lucky. We have a little house to call our own. If we're really hot this afternoon, we'll turn on the air conditioner and it won't stress me out about the utility bill. I mean, it stresses me out a little, but still, and I say, like, if you want to live comfortably, you have to do as much as you can when you're young to put yourself in a position where you can be very fortunate and you want all the opportunities open to you. You never want to be told, well, Mike, we
Yeah.
would have hired you, but without a bachelor's, I'm sorry, we can't bring you on. Imagine how that would have felt.
And it's all about work ethic. That's the most important thing to me,
Yeah.
is that they have strong work ethic. And like, I have a lot of friends who, are in the unions in the city for, electricians and plumbers. And, not all of them finish college and they're successful people. They're raising families. And so, but what gets them to that point is the work ethic, it's the hard work, man. And to your point, like nothing just gets handed to you. Like I'm never
Yeah.
going to hand them anything. Like you got to fight for it. You got to want it. And then you got to go get it.
Yeah.
So I'm all about like
Oh, I like that.
working hard, right?
Are you in touch
Work
with any of your old roommates or anything?
from college.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So
Oh
like you
yeah.
like
I
even the
mean,
ones
we
in
were such
Colorado?
we were so, I mean, the close friends of mine, I'd call them like 10 of us, were such degenerates. Like we were such just crazy guys and having fun. But to this day, we were all very successful. Like no matter what, I mean, I'm not going to say their names out loud, but their occupations, but they're all doing great and they're all, and to me, it says you surround yourself with individuals who you may be crazy and wild and having fun is what you're supposed to do in college, but you're also surrounding yourself with guys who are smart, who know that at the end of the story, you got to go do this and you got to go chase your dreams, I guess. And for a lot of us, we all did chase our dreams. One of them's a Hollywood producer, one of them's a public defender. One of them is real estate law. One of them is in
Mhm.
real estate,
Yeah.
and on and on and on. So
Oh, that's good.
yeah, yeah. In fact, we always try to get together. I don't get together as much as them, but I think we've got something on the clock uh, in September already. So
Oh,
yeah,
nice.
yeah. I may not tell that story, but we'll see. It's
Well,
important.
it says a lot about you that you're such a loyal friend and that you make time for them because you're a husband, you're a brother. I mean, like you've got a lot going on, but I love that you like make time to keep those core friendships. I honestly, I mean, I'm not really in touch with anybody that I went to college with, but I did when we were here for spring break because I was forced to be for baseball. I out of the blue, I started Googling my roommate in San Diego once I got out of the dorms. Her name is Darlene. I used to call her Darla. So like I Googled her maiden name, I Googled
Darla.
married name. And so I found her and I did like the random thing of I sent her an email because I found her work email. And I was like, hi, Darlene. I don't know if you remember me. Da, da, da. And guess what she wrote back? This blew my mind. She goes,
What?
I listened to your podcast and your laugh sounds exactly the same. Isn't that
No,
wild?
no way. Darla?
She listens to this.
Darla?
Yeah, Darla. Yeah, she was adorable. She was so cute. She grew up in Montebello, and I think she was Miss. No, I know she was Miss Montebello. Back in like her teen years. And what I thought was so wild is that her dad worked for Mattel, and she was like, "I had all the Barbies I wanted." And like for me, my mom never wanted to get us Barbies. I was allowed to have one Barbie, and I just thought, oh, like Darlene had the life that I always wanted.
Yeah,
The sweetest gal, and just you can feel someone's emotions come through in an email, and I just thought that is great. So she was like, "You haven't changed. Every now and then I'll stream you on KTVU," and it was just so nice to connect and to hear that like my old college roommate is listening to our podcast. I was like, wow, I can't believe 30 plus years have gone by.
I can't believe it either. I got call. Anyways, I got to run. It's springtime. I'm gonna go plant a flower. It makes me happy. I encourage everyone at home to also plant if you can. Plant even in your house. Have a little flower. Springtime again, a symbol of life. And what do you say? Let's go live life a little bit, right, Gasia?
Let's
All
do it.
right. As my good friend always used to sing, once in a while you get shown the light in the strangest of places. If you look at it right, we'll see you around.